Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the show where driven entrepreneurs share the real stories, the real honest struggles, and the hard-won secrets behind performing at their best. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, a personal performance strategist and the founder of TAPS Coaching, where I partner with entrepreneurs to turn real effort into real momentum. Every week, I sit down with an owner-operator who's building something of their own, and we get past the highlight reel to find out what's actually working. Because the truth is, most people don't need more. They need to pay attention to what works for them and do more of that. So whatever you're building, let's stop spinning and start winning. We'll jump into the show right after this. If you're an entrepreneur or owner-operator who's working hard but feeling stuck spinning your wheels instead of building real momentum, I'd love to help. I want to invite you to a free strategy session with one of our performance strategists. We'll help you see what's actually working, what's holding you back, and the clearest next step to get your momentum going again. To claim your free strategy session, head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. We'd love to talk to you. And now back to the episode. What's going on? And welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today's guest is Adam Torres. He's the founder of Mission Matters and a veteran podcaster who's conducted nearly 7,000 interviews over the past decade or so. But before getting into podcasting, Adam spent almost 14 years working in finance, where he managed over $200 million in assets. But what started almost as an accident eventually turned into a full media company. Today, his team has launched over 250 podcasts, if I'm not mistaken, and produced over 10,000 episodes and built an entire ecosystem around storytelling and business media. Adam is also the author of the book 1 Billion Podcast, where he breaks down the business opportunity behind podcasting and why we're still in the early stages of what could become one of the biggest storytelling movements in history. So in today's conversation, we're going to talk about how Adam accidentally got into podcasting, why most people quit too early, and why podcasting might be one of the most underrated business opportunities of our time. So Adam, dude, welcome to the show.
Dang, Rob, that's a good intro.
Thank you, man.
That's great. I'm like, come on, tell me some more. 1billionpodcast.com. I'm in.
Yeah, there we go.
Awesome.
There we go. Well, dude, I want to kind of dive right in if we can. And I know, as I said there in the intro, before podcasting, you spent almost 15 years in finance. So how did you get into that? And then what was the transition kind of like into podcasting? Tell me, man, fill me in.
Well, first I tell people I had no idea I was going to be in media. I was one of the people that moved to LA not to be in the entertainment business. I moved here to manage money. That was my thing. I started in that business when I was actually 16 years old in high school. I would go to school maybe 2-3 hours a day, and then for my last 2 years, then I go to the firm. It was Raymond James and Associates in their IRA department, and I thoroughly loved it. I liked my whole career in finance, and I thought I was going to be a finance guy forever. So eventually I went and I launched my own firm. And when I did that, one of my mentors, he's like, "Hey, you got to write a book." And I'm like, "I'm not going to write a book." And now I know what I know about marketing, what I know about story, what I know about how important stories are to moving the world and to making money, by the way. The ROI on a great stories, you can't even measure it. I didn't know at this time. So when he's telling me to write a book, I'm like, dude, broke people write books. I'm not trying to be out here some fake author writing a book and I'm going to peddle a $5, $10 product. Who cares? I'm moving millions of dollars. Why would I do that? You listen to your mentors. So I begrudgingly put out my first book, which I like to call my ugly duckling. I still have it, and so it wasn't super professional. It's called Money Matters. Wasn't super professional. It was I just put it together. I'm like, all right, I got to do this book. I was checking a box off. I was like, oh, let's do it. And I say my ugly duckling because the graphic, if you look on the cover, it's not perfect, and a bunch of the things there's imperfections. But I bring that up for a very specific reason because it still worked. It was insane. Like I brought out the book, I started handing them out as business cards, and all of a sudden I found myself on speaking tours as far away as China. And like people would find me like cold on LinkedIn, cold. Like this isn't like, to be clear for everyone, I was a financial advisor. I didn't know anything about marketing, media. I just had this little book. I would hand it out, thousands of them. It was working. I was bringing in, business, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This is pretty cool. Share your story. Tell people about it, and and they will come if they resonate, right? If you're telling a good story, and if it's authentic, and if it's something that they'll benefit from. Obviously, there's got to be a whiff them in them. What's in it for me? For them. And that was the start. Like that was the start of it all. From there, I was like, well, that was really what piqued me in this direction, like period. And so the original company wasn't even supposed to be, this wasn't supposed to be a media company or this or that. It was literally just an LLC to hold that book IP. That was it.
And then, so you got the book, you're touring, then like, so when did you make that shift into podcasting?
That was another. So you're going to notice a theme here, Rob, and for everybody listening, the theme is this: I don't want to do anything. So then but I do it anyway. That's the other theme. But if you got something you want me to do, I'm not doing it. Just FYI, don't tell me, don't send me no DMs. I'm not doing it. But this is another one. So the other co-founder who we met, actually, I swiped right on LinkedIn. We've been together ever since. It was just our first coffee meeting. And I actually pitched him on being in another book. So what happened is I did well with my individual book. Then from there, you do good and people start asking you for things. So I was caution on that. Had some people that said, "Hey, will you help us publish a book?" I'm like, "I'm a financial advisor. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? I don't publish books. Go find a book publisher." They're like, "Yeah, but we like what you did." I'm like, "Are you serious?" I was shocked. So then this kept happening. So about by the time the third person kind of approached me on this, and these are all, I'm living in Beverly Hills, and like these are all people that are colleagues and or I want to do business with, or I want to refer business with. So I'm like, what happens if we do what, like if I was to publish a book, what would make sense? And so it wasn't to do an individual book for these particular individuals. That's a long time, a lot of very hard to do. But then I saw the chicken soup for the soul model, like like Jack Canfield, Deepak Chopra, that anthology model where you add a bunch of authors into one book. And so I kind of pitched them on it. I said, hey, we'll all put in, 2,000, 3,000, whatever. We're going to dump that money into the marketing, the production. We got to make sure it's a professionally done book so that all of our names look good on this. And it's not just a little self-published rinky dink like I did originally. Even though I had the success, it still was self-published. So then they agreed, and before you knew it, I was putting out my first anthology book. And now, just fast forwarding a bit, we've published over 400 authors, and we have a full book publishing company, all that good stuff. And one of my prides of books that we published was Bye Bye Barry Sanders. Come on, baby. I'm from Michigan. So the fact that I got to work with one of my childhood heroes and Barry Sanders and publish his book was an absolute dream come true. So started with that book publishing, and then the podcast side. Honestly, the first time the other co-founder's named Shirag, he's like, we got to start a podcast. I don't even know if I knew what a podcast was, Rob. I honestly don't know. I didn't listen to him. I didn't I don't even know if I knew. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, what am I going to do? You're going to do it. I'm like, I'm going to do it. What are you talking about? And he's like, well, do you want me to start? He's the biz dev and partnership guys, right? So he's the one that's driving the revenue. I create a bunch of the content, do strategy, and run kind of the day to day back then. And so it was, he's like, well, do you want me to stop doing biz dev? I'm like, well, I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing a podcast. We're going to keep the doors open, whatever that is. But if I do, you're going to be my first guest. He's like, all right. Rob, I don't even know if you call my first show a podcast. It was more like tape recording, Adam's voice recordings on his phone of phone calls to friends and colleagues that were recorded, not edited, uploaded, and distributed. First 300 episodes I put out like that. And you know what? Getting back to the do it. And if people, you know what I mean? Like the self-published book, I'm on freaking speaking tours in China. This, we grew an audience, unedited, whatever. And I was shameless too, Rob. I'd be like if you were my buddy back then and I'm like, you're like, Adam, the audio's a little off, like this or that. And I'd be like, is it, Rob? Oh, it's off. You know what? I'm going to tell the editors to fix it on the next one. Like, listen to the next episode. Let me know if that's any better. I'll be texting you, Rob, what do you think about that? No, the audio's still a little off. I'm like, oh man, it's hard to find good help. Listen to that. Man, I wasn't editing anything. I just want your download. Chill,
Yeah.
Rob. Shameless. We want
Oh,
downloads,
man,
baby. I'm from finance. Give me the numbers.
I love it. I love it. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. And so, like, because I know you told me though that like you didn't even want people knowing that you had a podcast in the
Oh my
beginning though.
gosh. Yeah.
So
If you even go back to the show before then, so I really enjoyed streaming. Like I'm not going to say I was a first streamer because that'd be incorrect, but like, I'll just show you how early I was in streaming. So there was this platform called Periscope, which you may know, but for the youngins who weren't around at that time or on social media or were too young, they probably don't know what it was, but it was one of the first streaming platforms. I was so early in streaming that I remember being at a Tiesto concert, our gig in Vegas, and I was streaming it, and I was so early that the bouncers were coming up to me, and this is going to be a problem because they're like, you can't record the set, and I'm like, I'm not recording, I'm streaming, and this and that, and there's like thousands of people watching. Nobody knew what the heck I was talking about. So I was streaming the Bellagio and all of that like way before anybody even knew what it was. I just enjoyed it though. I would connect with people all around the world. But to your point, I was so scared that anybody would find out that I was doing it or that I had a show or anything else like that, that I didn't even use my name. I was so scared. And the first show was called The Gratitude Show. I was so bad. I had one question. What are you grateful for? That's it. And people would just come on and talk about what they were grateful for. I was like, you want to talk about a one-trick pony? I got one question, baby. Come on that show. That was it. That's the truth. And it evolved, and then there'd be thousands of people watching, and then I started giving people these gratitude missions, and that's when it kind of scared me, and I stopped because I was just like, it was getting bigger, and I was just scared. I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know the power of media or all this stuff. So I give people these gratitude missions, and one of them, one day I still remember it pretty clearly, and I tell them, I'm like, all right, what I want you to do today is text everyone and text one person today and just tell them you're grateful and that you're happy they're in your life. People did it. And it threw me off that people did it. And I still remember the one gentleman like putting in the chat, because at this point you couldn't do two-way. This is so early. Put in the chat. He's like, man, I sent that to my wife. And like, she just started bawling. Like, she called me and she thanked me. And she was so shocked that like, she said like in all our years of marriage that I had never said that to her and that it meant the world to her. And he's like, thank you. And so people were like actually grateful for this. And I had people sharing stories from all around the world. And again, I had one question. What are you grateful for? That was it. But I saw it. I saw that power of connectivity and all of that. So that was the original origins.
yeah, I love that because I think that speaks volumes to anytime you can anytime you can build consistency and stick with something, you can
Yeah.
really
Gratitude Show,
start
I
to
did
see
like
that.
400 episodes. Yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then
we don't
after a
play.
while,
We don't play. Like, I'm like, when you're bad, you got to do a lot of them.
yeah. Well, that's why I want to ask. So, like once you start having that like impact and kind of like that power, where you can where you see the connection and everything else, then that's like where, at least for me, I start to get motivated and kind of like take more action. But in the beginning, the first 399 episodes, what kept you going, like to go forward with it? Like, why didn't you just give up?
This is going to sound bad coming from the CEO and co-founder of Mission Matters, but for me, I'm not that disciplined. I have to have systems in place. So what keeps me going then is the same thing that keeps me going now. I woke up a Sunday night. I looked at my schedule. I had over 50 interviews on the schedule. So that's my week. I already know I got to do 50 interviews. So how did I get to the point to where I could do that? Well, take one step back, because I don't want people to crash their businesses, maybe thinking about duplicating if that's their thing. Myself and the co-founder, when we saw that this was going to be a thing and that it was going to be a big driving force, and when we saw the future of what podcasting could be and what it's evolving into, hence the book as well, 1 billion podcasts. When we saw all of that, we designed the company to where I spend 70 to 80% of my time in front of camera. And then the other 20% I run as CEO, 20 to 30%. And And then we have executives that are on each one of our profit centers so that I can drive the traffic, create the content, do what I'm doing right now on a Thursday at noon in Pacific Standard Time. I, as a CEO of a company, have the luxury of being on this interview with you. Why? Because everything's functioning. So we designed it that way, though. So once we had the design in place and the infrastructure, and as that built, now the systems to be able for me to fulfill that, like it's to the point to where, do you know how hard it is if I wanted to like reschedule or not show up for an interview? You know how many people that affects in my company and people on the other side and the PR people and everything else? We're talking hundreds of people. So it's to the point to where me showing up's just not even an option. It's like, hey, I got to put on my pants this morning. Like it's just what you do. You know what I mean? It's like, am I going to put socks on and then my shoes? Yes. Like it's the same thing. Am I going to brush my teeth? Yes. So am I going to do podcast interviews? What do you mean? If I don't, then I'm going to affect hundreds of people. And some of those people, especially the guests, may have been waiting months to get on the show. So I'm not going
Mhm.
to let them down. You don't want to let people down. Like that's the little bit of Catholic guilt in me right there. I'm like, I don't want to let people down too. I want to, make sure that their moment of hope of telling their story, I don't think that it's to talk to me necessarily, but for them to share their story and get it out there and to feel connected. Like to me, that's a privilege for me to be that conduit that helps allow to do that. So that's all I see myself as. So that's it's not that I'm just this focused guy that has this gym regimen and oh my gosh, this guy must live like a monk. Nah, I'm waking up like, oh my gosh. Like in the early days, I'll do a podcast interview in my sleep. I swear I've done multiple. I'll be half awake, like let's do it in bed. I don't care. Audio only, obviously. That's not a
Yeah.
video interview. Don't get your minds out the gutter out there.
Man, I love that you brought up the systems and everything too, because that's like a stage where I'm at right now with
Mm,
like the sales process and everything that I'm going through is like, all right, how am I documenting this and moving this forward? And then
yeah.
even with the podcast itself, like the production side of it, the social media content, like making sure that I'm documenting the whole
Hmm.
thing so I can pass that off to like virtual assistants or whoever down the
Yeah.
road. So I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more on like what that was like when you first started the
Mm.
systems and did you have it all together or did you have to like
No, I built
refine and go through it?
all I knew was finance. So the good thing was is that all I knew was finance. So I built the back end of this like it was a financial advisory firm. Like the challenge, I don't know if you ever read that book. I think it's called E-Myth or something, and they talk about how if you're coming from outside a business and you're going into that business, that maybe you're going to have a better shot or a better chance because you don't have any miseducation or preconceived notions on how things should be, quote unquote. So on my end, I was looking at my team hates when I say this, especially when I say it on interviews, but I don't care. I'm gonna do it because they're not gonna hear this one. It's fine. And if you heard it, then I didn't say it. Rob said I had to do it in the pre-call. So I always said, I said, I'm building a factory and I just want those hamburgers coming off the assembly line. I'm from Michigan. I'm from Detroit. So well, let's make it an auto reference. I just need that car to come off the assembly line. So I was trying to be the Henry Ford of putting together a podcast episode. And that resulted in me being able to do when I was my record is 91 interviews in a week. And my
Nice.
in our team, we can still do this. We don't do it for some marketing reasons intentionally. It's a little bit more complex now in terms of the quantity we do for each marketing of episodes. But just for context, let's just say when we were originally putting out the just interviews, like just an interview, maybe a LinkedIn post. Okay, that was maybe the first product or version. Put out the interview, put out one LinkedIn post, tag the client, or in this case, the guest, right? We used to be so fast on that because we weren't posting on YouTube. We didn't have video. It was all audio only. So we'd be so fast that somebody would come on the show and within 2 hours, it was already posted. They were tagged on LinkedIn and they were also received the email. And in the beginning, I think people were just so dang shocked that we were able to do that because that's the early days. That's a good 7 years ago. So I think people were just that's before the AI automations, that's before all this other stuff. I think people were just so shocked because any other show they'd been on, it's like weeks, if not a month before the episode came out. So for us, it was so fast. I think we almost had like you ever see the movie The Founder when they were like creating like the hamburger and they're like doing all this? That's where my head was. And that movie wasn't out back then. But in retrospect, looking back, I was tinkering. I'm figuring out I had it down at one point to where I knew putting out one interview or piece of content, I should say not the full interview, cost us 25 cents. Like I had it
Wow.
down at one point, the numbers, because I was in finance. So I was very like into that piece of it. It grew, the numbers grew, all the other things grew to where it didn't make sense to track that kind of small stuff anymore. But because of the quantity too, like it just didn't make sense. But in the beginning, when we were building the machine, whether it made sense or not, that's where my head was at. I always looked at it as a business. So for some people that are creative going into this, they spend, let's say, 80, in my opinion, and I don't think my number's off because now we've launched over 250 shows. So I've worked with many, many creative teams. They spend maybe, especially hosts, they want to spend like 80% of their time like thinking about how do they create a better show, and then 20% of their time on the delivery or this or that. And for some hosts, it's even like a nuisance, like, oh, we got to get a new editor. Oh, we got to do this or we got to do that. For me, I did the reverse. I spent like 20% of, no, I probably spent 95% on the production and building the factory. 5% on the show in the early days, I'm talking about on how to become a better host. And then once that infrastructure was built, I slowly started spending some of that newfound time on becoming a better host. And in order to do that, I've literally read approaching 10,000 pages of biographies and things like from, Johnny Carson, David Letterman, Jay Leno. You look at all the greats, any type of the thing about entertainment. And once you start growing in this business, you realize you're not a podcast, you're in the entertainment business.
Mm.
You're behind a microphone. And guess what? Everything that's been done in entertainment is in a book somewhere, period. Just by the nature of the business, like whether it's all factual or not, you're going to find seeds of truth in every single biography that you can extrapolate and take what you want. And if you study that like it's a medical textbook, you start seeing patterns, you start seeing things change. And that was a piece of what led me to write 1 billion podcasts. Was I was like, I'd now done this huge deep dive. I'd also been through it myself. And I'm not going to say the largest, but one of the largest catalogs of any podcaster in the world. I'm sure there's somebody out there that has over 6,000 episodes, but at a clip of 1,500 to 2,000 a year. And with the factory I have behind me and the demand of the infrastructure and also the train I'm on, probably not going to, I'm not going to say I'm going to probably, I'm not going to stop. So I'm going to keep doing 1,500, 2,000 interviews a year. So it's plausible that one day I'll have the largest catalog of specifically for podcasting. I mean, so with all of that being said, it becomes interesting on how you build the factory to get to your original question. And I know you didn't use the word factory, but that's the kind of things that someone can think about and plan for now. And the metrics are easy. You're like, okay, great. How many episodes? How much is this costing me? What's the ROI on that? Okay, is there a better way? Is there a better tool? And as your team builds, you get to decide how and where you want to reinvest. And for everybody, it's not going to be quantity, by the way. Some people are only going to do one episode a week and they're going to focus on marketing and just focusing on, there's different ways to do it. They might be focusing on getting a higher level guest. They might do very few episodes. I have a buddy who does that. He's got a big show. All he does, man, all of his, I don't qualify to go on his show. He has like all these CEOs from like these Fortune 500 companies and all this. And he spends a lot of time, and especially in the early days, getting those first ones. But after he had that, that was his model. So he's got Olympic athletes, all this. It's only like top level guests. Whereas on my end, I wanted it to be slightly different for the
Hmm.
initial platform. And so I was like, man, if you had a pulse in the early day, I was interviewing you. Come on, man. Is that warm air coming out of your mouth? Let's do it. We're doing a podcast interview.
Get a microphone over there.
Get it. Let's do it. Run it. He doesn't know what's happening. Do an interview.
Well, so I want to ask you, so because you started back in the days when it was first
It
kind
ain't
of,
that far back, man. You better stop with that back in the day.
so
Podcasting's
like a
over 20
million
years
years
old.
ago,
You
a
better
million
chill.
years ago. But no, so like you've obviously seen the podcasting world kind of change over the years. Like I know when I first heard about podcasts, it was just audio. I didn't know anybody had YouTube videos of it going on, but now it seems like everybody's doing audio and visual. And I see a lot of people doing the in-person podcasts now. What do you see as like the biggest trends or changes happening in the podcasting realm? Because it's also a lot easier for people with AI and everything too to start a show nowadays.
My response, you're probably not going to like. None of it matters. It doesn't.
All right.
No, it just doesn't. Like when you go back and you start studying and you start looking at it and you look at it as the entertainment business, like, and these aren't my words, but there's an interview. I think it was between Jerry Seinfeld and I forget who the second person was. Might have been David Letterman. I forget. But they're talking about it, and they're talking about the early days and like their shows and what they did and why it worked, what it didn't, and what it came down to. And this is depending on how high in the business you want to be as a podcaster and or entertainer. But at the end of the day, it's always the host and they're always doing it for themselves. It's purely to entertain themselves. That's never going to change. So
Mm.
it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Like all that matters, and I go through this in 1 Billion Pie in the book. What matters is that you're engaged, you enjoy what you're doing, and you can see yourself being doing it long enough to succeed. Like that's all that matters. So who cares? Like I just started. I still start shows. One of the things I'm not really on here to plug this program, so I'm not going to. But I'll just say high level. I'll speak very high level about it. One of the things I do is I co-host shows. So one of the products that we have is I co-host shows with other hosts. So I'm launching shows all the time. So I have a new show being launched right now that's audio only with this entrepreneur from Orange County who he's in finance and he wants to get into the finance side of what he's doing specifically for heavy machinery, and it's a super super interesting niche. So when he pitched me the concept, I'm like, "Oh, let's do this." But that's going to be audio only. It doesn't make sense for it to be video because the people that are going to come on that show and that are interviewed, they're old school. They don't want to be in front of a camera. These are older gentlemen that are like doing billions and billions of dollars of business. Some people don't even want to see their face in there. We're lucky to get their voice.
Mm.
They don't care about being on LinkedIn or this or that. These people are just give you an idea of the size of the deals. Like one heavy equipment piece of machinery costs millions of dollars. So they're very private, right? These are very
Yeah.
silent people that have a lot of money. So we made the decision audio only. So it's always going to be, and so now, it's always going to be about the host at the end of the day. All this other stuff, bells, whistles, whatever, analytics, you show me. I'll give you an example of a trend that I didn't know would work, but I'll tell you one thing that 100% always works. So we did this, I do a bunch of different series where I cover conferences literally all around the world, Singapore, Europe, you name it, some of the top conferences in the world. One of them is the Milken Conference. For some context on that conference, the ticket, not to sponsor, not to anything else, the ticket cost over 35,000. You want to send 3 of your team members, boom, that's 90 grand. So it's the top one of the top conferences in the world. The other day, so I just now made my commitment. I tell them, hey, yeah, I'm going to go cover it. I'm going to be in town. Great. And I cover it every year. I love it. It's like 4 or 5 years. And I was just curious. So I put in search, just regular search. I wasn't in Chat GPT or anything else like that. And I just want to see what came up. And I put Adam Torres and then I put Milken, Milken, and which is the name of the conference. Man, the AI, just the regular AI, the regular Gemini AI tool, not even Chat GPT, it came up with Adam Torres, a prolific podcaster. He has a conference, he has a series, something, 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 and he's been covering the Milken Conference from 2003 to 2005. Here goes some of the top interviews from the conference. Here goes some of the top this, that, whatever. Dude, it I just started saying I'm doing this series now 3 to 5 years later, whatever the amount is, 4 or 5 years. I think this will be the fifth year. And now it says it now I have almost 100 or no, I have now over 100 interviews. I think I'm approaching 200 interviews in that series. So now, arguably speaking, I have the largest, and I'll use the word because AI used it. I'm not saying this because I believe it, like, and I'm not calling myself this word, but I have the largest, most prolific, because AI said so, it's true, series for one of the most, like literally the top maybe one or two important conference in the world. And I'm the only person with that. And that's
Uh,
not because I did any additional marketing. It's not because my team SEO optimized the website. It's not because, no, it's because I put in the work. And that's what always works 100% of the time in this business, because media compounds over time. Think of it like a comedian going out there doing their act. The difference between a comedian that does one show, per week, stage time, or one per month versus somebody that's on the grind, constantly perfecting their craft and trying to get better. And the difference between us and the comedian, though, is everything we do is public. And the larger your catalog and the better not even the better the interviews, I just mean the depth of interviews when I say better, then AI is going to reward you because you can't fake that. There's nothing my team can do in marketing that's going to trick Gemini to say, Adam's been doing interviews at Milken and has done hundreds of them. And here go the top interviews with some of the top people that everybody wants to hear from. And here you go. Here goes the selection. Can't fake it. So that's why it gets getting back to your original question. What trend matters? The only thing that matters is the host, period. And people aren't going to like when they hear that because they want to hear other things, but it's the truth. Like at the root of it all, that's all that matters. I could still be doing that original audio show, did none of the rest of it, and we'd probably be bigger. Because a lot of the bells and whistles we tested were just distractions that didn't matter in retrospect, right? Some of them work, some of them work, some of them were good, some of them were good spends of money, but I can't like 100% definitively say if we hadn't just kept doing literally the vanilla audio only and you have to go there for the content if you want it, who knows? We might be bigger, to be honest. There's something to be said about really concentrating on one particular area.
So if you're saying that like it really just takes the host's commitment and consistency to like keep going and putting in the work, how come so many people do it and then fall off?
In the book, so 1 billion podcasts, the number one reason that I say is it's expectations. They don't understand the business they're in. And so I'll give you one example directly from the book. And I see this happen all the time. This is after working literally with hundreds of hosts, not just launching shows with our company, but as I mentioned before, I co-host shows. I do other shows that aren't in business. I have a show called Las Vegas Live where I interview entertainers, headliners, musicians, you name it, mentalists, comedians in Las Vegas, all this stuff. So it's purely entertainment show. The number one thing I see is the expectations. So the example I use in the book is take, for example, you get, let's say we're make the math very easy. You get 100 downloads on, no, let's do it even less. Let's say you get 10 downloads on a podcast. And let's say that's an hour-long interview. That's 10 people that gave you an hour of their time. That's insane. That's 600 minutes. That's 600 minutes that you got of somebody's lifespan that they could have spent watching a YouTube or not a YouTube, watching a Netflix episode that maybe cost 50,000 or 500,000 to produce for one episode. Or maybe they could have went to go see Avatar or something else that cost, and obviously that's more than 1 hour, but billions of dollars or $1 billion to create a movie, depending on how big it is. Instead of doing that, they spent an hour with your show, those 10 people. Now, what'll happen is that somebody will say, I only got 10 downloads. And then they'll look, let's say they got Instagram. And let's say that their Instagram has 100 likes. Well, that dopamine hit from those 100 likes is intense. They don't understand what their body's doing. So now they're like, well, my Instagram's working. Let me focus there more. The podcast only has 10 downloads, but they're not doing the math. Those 10 people that are listening to your podcast, those are core fans. If you got 10 people listening, that's equivalent to you standing in front of 10 people giving a keynote. Like that's a good little size. You got a nice little conference room going. That 10, those 100 likes on an Instagram post, let's be very, very optimistic and say they spent a whole minute with you, right? On those 100 likes, that's not even 2 hours of time.
Yeah.
And that's being optimistic, saying they spent the whole minute. They probably spent 10 seconds, just hit a like and moved on. Like, let's be real. So that's not really. So let's just round that down a little bit. And let's say that those 100 likes, they spent half an hour with you, maybe. So now you're looking at your Instagram, you got 100 likes, you got all this engagement. Oh, they got a comment. Oh, whatever. You got this dopamine hit. You got 10 downloads on your podcast. Those 10 people gave you freaking 600 minutes, 10 hours of their life. And so now the same thing happens as the numbers get bigger. So now let's say you got 100 downloads on your podcast. People don't realize that's you standing in front of 100 people doing a keynote. That's impressive. That's a big deal. Let's say you got 1,000. You're in front of 1,000 people giving a keynote. That's insane. Let's say you got 5,000. Dude, you're in front of that's a little mini stadium. That's insane. Whatever the numbers are compared to anything else, people just don't understand how that translates, the amount of time they're giving you, the amount of hours. So what happens now is people see the small numbers. They're like this. Oh, I've been doing this podcast for a year, for 2 years, whatever. I'm getting 50 downloads, I'm getting 100 downloads, I'm getting whatever, or less, who knows? They don't understand that they could build a freaking mountainous army if they can figure out how to connect with those 10 or 50 people that are listening and build a relationship with them. That's all you need. That's how it grows. Jesus ain't had that many. It grew.
Yeah.
He has some disciples. Yeah, it grew. But people don't focus. Like you gotta focus. You gotta focus on that audience and you gotta appreciate it and you gotta cultivate it and you gotta find ways to continue adding value to that. But if you're and you have to understand the business for what it is. It's a hockey stick. And that's not my words. Many other people that are much been in this business longer and know more about it, I would argue, or at least been around a lot longer than me. I mean, in the business, they all say, it goes a little bit slow, a little bit slow, a little bit slow. That could be for years. And then at some point it catches on, an episode or something else like that catches on. And I won't use the word go viral because that's not what's happening. What's happening is those 10 people turn into 20, turn into 50, turn into 100. And all those 100 people, they keep bugging all their dang friends, especially the hardcore podcasts. You ask a hardcore podcaster or listener, what's your favorite show? They're going to list 3 to 10 real quick. Oh, this is the one. This is why you're not going to be able to shut them up. So it's those people that are going to keep spreading it all around to everybody else. And at some point it catches on. It's not going viral. It's you did the work, you seeded, you spent enough time with your audience to build that trust and that relationship, which is way different than any other platform. It takes longer, but it's stickier. And that's why advertisers love it so much. And that's why this industry is going to keep on growing and growing and growing. And it's also where you get your most dedicated fans. Outside fans who might like some of the work you're having, they're willing to give you some like seconds. They might follow you on Instagram. They're gonna give you a like. Oh, this guy's cool. I heard him once, whatever. I'm giving him a like, give him a like, give him a like. They're not gonna tune into your show every week. They're not gonna listen to hours of your content. Your hardcore fans, that's where those downloads are. Those are your hardcore fans. That's like getting to the juice of everything that you're doing in your content.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And one of my mentors said something like along those lines and of like, hey, yeah, these guys are like the real people because if they're dedicating more time, then they're engaging a lot more than just
Yeah.
like the likes and the comments. And it's tough because we are so like trained nowadays where it's like, okay, yeah, look at these numbers because these engagement numbers are the ones that are like driving social media and things like that. And then you see the same numbers over on your downloads, but they might not be the same size. So then you get so discouraged. So that's a great way of considering and thinking
It's
about it.
understanding it. It's just
Yeah.
you do the math though. You do the math right there. That's the key. You just do the math and you're like, man, I got this many downloads, this, that. Man, these people gave me their life. That's great. They didn't
Yeah.
watch Netflix. They didn't go to the movie. They didn't like all the things vying for their attention and they listened to your episode. And they read my book, 1 Billion Podcast, which is on 1billionpodcast.com. And they got it for free because they downloaded it for free because I give it away for free. It's amazing that people do this, Rob.
Yeah. It's insane. It's insane. Hey, what's up? Sorry for the interruption. It's Rob. One quick thing before we keep going. If you're feeling stuck or like you've lost the momentum that you used to have, here's a simple, free first step. Take the assessment at gettheprime.com. In just a few minutes, it'll show you exactly where you're leaking momentum so you can get that ball rolling again with the Prime app. It's completely free. So if you're new here, this is the best place to start. Go ahead to gettheprime.com and take the free assessment. All right, let's get back into it. Man, so talk to me quickly about Mission Matters.
Where we stand today, media platform, and we've launched again over 250 shows. We just now launched a new website, so we run our 7th version of the website, and it continues to grow. Our aim and our goal is to partner with other people in the podcasting space, and also just really break bread. Like at the end of the day, we hold a lot of events. I mean, we hold this year. I think we'll do 70 plus events. So we do quite a bit of events. We attend a lot. We're very active. California is mostly our active base. We're active in Miami. We go to New York. I mean, all around the country in terms of content creation, but we're biggest in California. And that's what we're known for. And then on the personal branding side, we have quite a few clients on that side. We've been doing that for a long, long time. And then the PR side of things, we could do a bunch in the PR world too. But that's kind of like the brick and mortar back end of the backside of the media brand. And then obviously as a media brand, I mean, we put out, I believe, for a company of our size, probably more content than any other company I know. Like original, I mean, like not AI generated or not just, repurposing. I just mean literal every single week, how many episodes are coming out across all our shows, not just mine, but our podcast network, our podcast agency clients and everything else. Like we're super active in that, in the space as a whole.
So what I'm hearing you say, like, all right, if you're business owner or person, if you're interested in podcasting by any means, you should go to 1billionpodcast.com, and that's number 1billionpodcast.com. Get the book for free, download that, read that, go through it. And then if they're interested in maybe taking a step further, they should go and get involved at Mission Matters.
Or do it themselves. Like, I'm agnostic. The reason I wrote the book, just so you're aware, isn't, and not saying you said this, but it's for everybody listening. Like, I want you to get the book, and the reason I make it available for free is because you may not need to hire an agency. You might do it yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's different people in different ways they want to work with them. So I don't even mean you have to go work with us. Work with any agency. My whole point in doing this book is that I want people to be unnoticed. That for well, two different main things. Number one, this is the first time in history ever, history of the world, that we all have the opportunity at scale to share our stories and write our own histories. Podcasters are the new historians. This has never happened in history. Like, if you go back in time, what at one point you had to own the printing press. Did you own the ink? Did you own the newspaper? Did you own all media is controlled by them. So if you didn't have money, power, wealth, or that access to those things, your story's written for you, period. Go further back in time. I mean, I don't care how far back you go. At some point, who had the chisel? Who had the tablet? Go further back. Who had the stick by the campfire, Rob? I don't know. like, was it your turn to talk? Well, they never passed me the stick. Okay, you don't get to talk. Or who had the intellect to be able to memorize long prose and pass down history from generation to generation? If you just weren't that smart, guess what? You didn't get to take place. Your history has always been written for you. This is the first time in history that we can all, entire cultures, histories, facts, wars, things have been, and not even to be political, but it's just a fact, things have been covered up and or forgotten through history based on who was recording it, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. So that being said, this is the first time when we can all, I believe, collectively uplift humanity by us all participating. And that doesn't mean higher mission matters. That means get in the game and understand the opportunity that you have in front of you. This is a play to help all of humanity by sharing stories and by being connected in the manner that we are. And podcasting just happens to be the perfect vehicle because it crosses borders and because it's so simple and because it can be done on a cell phone. I've been doing a bunch of interviews in Africa and other places, and I'm telling you, like, the people that I'm connecting with, going to be hundreds of millions of people that are going to be additional audience to this and to this platform and to podcasting as a whole. There's already more content creators coming on. So when I look at that, now you combine that. So let's just say that's one side of it. So the second part, and this is the main thesis of the book, is that there's going to be 1 billion podcasts one day. And right now, there's only about 4 million. And if you compare that to something like a YouTube, there's over 100 million YouTube channels. We haven't even started podcasting. The industry hasn't even begun. And some people might listen to this and be like, oh, well, then why is there only 4 million? That's what the book goes through. But I'm not like guessing here. I'm providing logical data and I'm showing like the evolution. Now, one quick thing I'll say to juxtapose the evolution of YouTube. YouTube in the early days, they had a YouTube Partners program. It was a central platform. You could earn money just by putting up a video. Somebody watched it, and you get paid. That never existed in podcasting. But guess what? Now it does. So what's going to happen is that same trajectory you saw on YouTube, there's going to be a version of that happens for podcasting. Like, that's factually happening. That's going to continue to happen. So if you're listening to this episode or if you care to read the book, you can literally predict the future on one of the biggest business opportunities. If I was to go back in time, Rob, and be like, all right, Rob, there's this silly platform called YouTube. You can only upload a video. I think they let you do 5 to 10 minutes. There's 500,000, a million channels. Maybe it's been around a year or so, or whatever the number was that it was at that time, or there's a couple million of them. But I'm telling you this, Rob, you need to start a YouTube channel now, because one day there's going to be 150 million plus YouTube channels and people are going to be making boatloads of money from it. Would you be like, nah, Adam, I'm good? You'd be like, sign me the F up and it's free. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, great. I'm in. I'm like, what do we do? I got to upload this video. I'd be like, yeah, you just hit the upload button. You do that. You'd be like, well, what's the video about? I don't know. Just do it. There's going to figure it out. There's only like a couple million right now, but you know, X amount of years later, there's going to be 150 million. You're going to make a bunch of money. That's exactly where we're at in podcasting right this moment in time.
I love it. I love it, dude. That just amps me up. So I love it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm in, and we're already here recording over 200 episodes. So I
Man,
know I'm
that's a
on my way.
huge. Congratulations. That's a lot.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I love it. Appreciate it. Thank you. And dude, thank you so much for coming on today. I know you got a lot of interviews. I know you're all over the world. I was going to say country, but I know the world, and you're a busy guy too. So I appreciate you hopping on and kind of sharing. So again, one more time is 1billionpodcast.com, right? Grab
Yep.
that
Go
book.
to the number 1billionpodcast.com. Grab your book completely free, no catch, no nothing. And then they'll send you some other free stuff. And then if you want to connect, you want to talk about podcasting, the show, you got ideas. Instagram is Ask Adam Torres. And on that link, by the way, you'll find a whole lot of other content, shows. We give away more free. I like to say we give away more free content than any other company of our size on the planet. So don't believe me? Check out my Instagram, click on the link, and you can get other free ebooks and other things. But the main one right now, 1 Billion Podcast. If you're interested and or interesting and want to learn about it, there you go.
Love it. All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And until next time, guys, peace, 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 peace. All right, sweet. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If this conversation gave you something that you can use, would you do me a favor and follow the show? And then please leave a quick rating and review wherever you listen. It genuinely helps more entrepreneurs find these stories, and it helps spread the word of our guests. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, do us both a favor and share the episode their way. You can connect with me and find everything that we mentioned over at survivingthesidehustle.com. Until next time, remember, pay attention to what works for you and then do more of that. That's how you stop spinning and start winning.